Broken heart, listen to this. If you just had a breakup, wilted flower. The voice begins soft, not rushed, not analytical. The kind of voice that speaks gently to an open wound. A breakup doesn't just hurt the heart. It shatters the world you built around someone. If you're listening to this right now, there's a good chance your chest feels heavy, your throat feels tight, your mind feels loud, and every emotion feels like a wave that keeps knocking you down before you can stand again. And maybe, just maybe, you're wondering how a person who once held your hand is now a stranger you're trying to live without. Breakups have this cruel way of twisting reality. They make yesterday feel like a dream, and today feel like a punishment. You wake up to silence that feels unfamiliar, spaces that feel emptier, and a future that's suddenly lost its shape. But listen closely. You are not broken. You are grieving. Walter Riso once wrote, asterisk, we don't suffer for love. We suffer for the illusions we attach to love. Asterisk. And that's what happens when a relationship ends. You don't just lose a person. You lose the version of yourself that existed with them. The routines, the expectations, the imagined tomorrows, the small rituals that once meant everything. A breakup is not just a separation. It's an emotional dismantling, and you feel it everywhere. You feel it in your mornings, when you reach for your phone, and remember there's no good morning message waiting. You feel it in your nights, when the bed feels too big and your thoughts feel too loud. You feel it when you pass places you once laughed together. You feel it when a song comes on that used to mean something. You feel it when someone asks, "How are you?" And all you can say is, "I'm fine," even though your heart is anything but fine. Breakups don't just hurt. They transform you. But before transformation comes a collapse. And the collapse is messy. Maybe you're crying more than you want to admit. Maybe you're bargaining with memories. Maybe you're obsessively replaying conversations. Maybe you're blaming yourself. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're numb. Maybe you're all of those things in the same hour. That's what heartbreak does. It scrambles your emotions, turns your mind into a battlefield, and makes you question your worth in the quietest, cruelest ways. And if you're asking yourself, why wasn't I enough? Why didn't they choose me? Why did they stop trying? Why couldn't we make it work? Then hear this, with the softness your heart deserves. Love ending is not proof that you failed. Relationships die for many reasons. Timing, values, effort, growth, maturity, compatibility, emotional wounds, unresolved patterns. Sometimes two people love each other, but are not ready for the kind of love that requires responsibility and consistency. Sometimes one is growing while the other is standing still. Sometimes the version of love you needed was not the version they could offer. Their inability to stay is not evidence that you were unworthy. Their departure says more about their limits than your value. But of course, this doesn't stop the pain, because heartbreak isn't rational. It's deeply human. Your mind can understand the ending, but your heart needs time. Time to untangle the memories. Time to detach from the fantasies. Time to detox from their presence. Time to find yourself again, without the influence of their voice, their routines, their approval. So if you're crying, if you're hurting, if you're lost, if you're angry, if you feel like you're falling apart, that's exactly how healing begins. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. It is your heart saying, this mattered to me. This changed me. This meant something. And there is nothing weak about that. There is nothing shameful about that. Breakups don't hurt because you're fragile. They hurt because you cared. And that is a beautiful, rare thing. Stay with me, because in part 2, we go deeper into this moment. The emotional shock, the hidden wounds, and the truths your pain is trying to reveal to you. The voice grows deeper now. Not louder, just more certain. The kind of voice that speaks truth gently, knowing your heart is still raw. Breakups don't hit all at once. They hit in waves. The first wave is shock, that disbelief that something so familiar could end so suddenly. You wake up expecting their name on your phone. You reach instinctively for the version of life that no longer exists. Your mind keeps saying, this can't be real, even though your heart knows it is. The second wave is pain. Sharp, unpredictable, consuming. It arrives without warning. In the shower, in the grocery store, on your lunch break, in the middle of the night when the world is quiet and your thoughts finally get loud. And then comes the third wave, the wave that hurts the most. The memories. Breakups resurrect everything you tried to bury. Their laugh, their smell, their habits. The little things they did without knowing it meant everything to you. Your brain replays moments out of nowhere, like a film you didn't ask to watch. And every memory asks the same question. Why did this ever end? Walter Riso says, asterisk, we don't cling to people. We cling to the emotional comfort they represented. Asterisk, and that is the real wound you're feeling now. You're not just grieving the person. You're grieving the emotional home they once were. You're grieving the safety you felt in their arms, the future you pictured with them, the identity you built around us, the comfort of knowing someone was yours, the version of yourself you were when you were with them. This grief is not simple. It's layered. It's complex. It demands to be felt. But here's a truth you may not have realized. You are grieving a story, not just a person. Because even in good relationships, we fall in love twice, with the person themselves and with the person we imagined they could become. Sometimes a breakup hurts so deeply, not because things were perfect, but because you believe they could be. And now, you're left with questions that feel like knives. Was I not enough? Did they stop loving me? Was it all an illusion? Did they ever really care? Could I have done more? Be gentle with yourself. These questions are normal. They are the mind trying to make sense of something the heart can't understand yet. But here is the twist, the one that begins to shift everything. Love doesn't end because you weren't enough. Love ends because it stopped being healthy. Something in the relationship stopped aligning. Something stopped growing. Something stopped nurturing you. Because if love is meant to stay, it stays. It shows up. It works. It chooses you again and again. Not once, not halfway, not temporarily, but consistently. And if it leaves, it was never your responsibility to hold it together alone. Still, the pain is real. The emptiness is real. The loneliness is real. This is the stage where your heart tries to negotiate. Maybe we can fix it. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should reach out. Maybe they miss me too. Maybe letting go was a mistake. Your mind wants answers, but your heart wants connection. This is the internal war heartbreak. But listen carefully. Missing someone doesn't mean you should return to them. Pain doesn't equal love. Loneliness doesn't equal destiny. Sadness doesn't mean losing them was wrong. It means losing them meant something. Grief is not a sign to go back. It's a sign that you're human. And you must honor this grief. Feel it. Move through it. Let it wash over you like a wave, without letting it drown you. Because grief always carries hidden messages. Messages that reveal who you are, what you need, what you deserve, and what must change. In part 3, we open those messages. We examine the hidden wounds, the emotional addictions, and the truths about your heart that this breakup is trying to awaken. Stay with me. You're not breaking. You're becoming. The voice becomes steadier now, still soft, but holding a quiet authority. This is where the pain begins to reveal its meaning. There's a moment during heartbreak, usually when the tears have slowed, when the shock has faded, when the silence feels heavier than the crying, where something begins to rise inside you. Questions that cut deeper than the breakup itself. Not questions about them, but questions about you. What part of myself did I lose while trying to love them? What did I tolerate that I shouldn't have tolerated? Why did I cling so tightly to someone who let go? Why did I ignore the signs? Why does their absence hurt more than their presence ever healed me? These questions are painful, but they are sacred, because this is the stage Walter Riso calls emotional decontamination, the uncomfortable process of seeing the relationship without illusions, without fantasies, without nostalgia filtered through loneliness. And when you look honestly, you begin to see something you weren't ready to admit before. You didn't just lose love. You lost yourself a little in love. You lost pieces of your identity trying to make the relationship work. You bent, adapted, shrank, forgave, compromised. Not because you were weak, but because you were hopeful. Because you believed in the potential of the relationship more than you believed in the reality you were living. You gave your heart with sincerity to someone who may not have known how to hold it. You showed emotional depth to someone who offered emotional distance. You gave loyalty to someone who offered inconsistency. You gave effort to someone who grew comfortable with receiving. That is why the breakup hurts so deeply. You didn't just lose a partner. You lost a version of you who kept believing that love could fix what the other person refused to acknowledge. And now the truth emerges. Your heartbreak isn't just grief. It's awakening. This is the moment where illusions dissolve. You begin to notice the red flags you justified, the nights you cried quietly, the moments you begged for reassurance, the arguments where you apologized just to restore peace, the times you accepted crumbs and called it compromise. You see the times you minimize your needs to avoid conflict, the moments you held back your truth out of fear of losing them, the emotional weight you carried alone because they didn't know how to meet you halfway. Heartbreak reveals everything love tried to hide. This is the painful twist. You weren't crying only because they left. You were crying because, deep down, you knew you had been lonely even when they were still by your side. It is possible, painfully possible, to feel abandoned in a relationship long before it ends. But you ignored that loneliness. You kept giving. You kept hoping. You kept fighting. You kept waiting for reciprocity. That never arrived. And now, the breakup is forcing you to confront the parts of yourself you abandoned. This stage is not about blaming them or blaming yourself. It's about seeing clearly, seeing the patterns, seeing the emotional gaps, seeing the lessons your heart is begging you to learn. Because heartbreak is not punishment. It's revelation. It reveals what you truly need in a partner, what wounds you still need to heal, what boundaries you must strengthen, what self-worth you must rebuild, what illusions you must release, what version of yourself must rise now. And this is where the transformation begins. Not when you stop missing them, not when the pain disappears, but the moment you say, I will not lose myself again for someone who couldn't see my value. That moment, that statement, is the beginning of emotional rebirth. In part 4, we walk into that rebirth. This is where you begin learning how to reclaim your identity, restore your self-worth, and rebuild the parts of you that heartbreak tried to destroy. Stay with me. Your healing is just beginning. The voice now shifts, still gentle, but with a rising strength. This is where heartbreak stops being just pain and starts becoming transformation. You've reached a sacred point in your healing, the point where you stop staring at the closed door and begin noticing the light coming from the window you forgot existed. This is the moment Walter Riso calls self-retrieval, the process of taking back all the parts of you that you handed over in the name of love. Because the truth is, during the relationship, you didn't just give affection, you gave pieces of yourself, pieces that were never meant to be abandoned. Your confidence, your identity, your voice, your boundaries, your emotional needs, your dreams, your spontaneity, your spark. But heartbreak, as cruel as it feels, has a strange way of returning those pieces to you, one painful moment at a time. That heaviness you feel right now, it's not just sadness, it's identity rearranging itself. It's your heart reorganizing the space where someone else used to live. It's your soul detoxing from emotional habits that no longer serve you. This is the part where you begin to reclaim your power, not with loud declarations, not with dramatic reinventions, not with forced positivity, but with quiet acts of self-respect. You start by choosing yourself in small ways, getting out of bed even when you don't feel like it, drinking water after crying instead of ignoring your needs, eating a real meal, taking a shower, opening a window, breathing deeply, cleaning your space, saying no when something drains you, allowing silence to heal you instead of scare you. These small acts are not small. They are resurrection. Because healing doesn't begin with doing big things. It begins with remembering that you deserve to exist fully again. And then something powerful starts to happen. You begin to hear your own voice again, not the voice that asked, "What can I do to keep them? What if they don't love me anymore? What if I'm not enough?" No, the voice beneath that one. The voice you've been ignoring. The voice that whispers, "I matter. I deserve tenderness. I deserve effort. I deserve to be chosen without hesitation. I deserve peaceful love, not painful love." This voice is the one heartbreak is trying to restore. At first, it feels faint, shaky, uncertain, but with each day it grows louder. And slowly, your energy shifts. You begin to accept what happened, not because it was fair, but because you finally understand you cannot heal while resisting reality. Acceptance isn't surrender. Acceptance is liberation. Acceptance is a door out of suffering. Because when you stop fighting the ending, you finally begin to create a new beginning. You start to look at the relationship without the filter of nostalgia. You begin to recognize emotional imbalances. You start to see the times you settle for less. You remember the days you felt invisible. You acknowledge the needs that were never met. You accept the truth you once ran from. You were trying to love someone who couldn't love you the way you needed to be loved. And that is not your failure. That is your freedom. Because now, with that awareness, you will never love the same way again. You will love with boundaries. You will love with self-respect. You will love with clarity. You will love with standards that protect your heart. You will love without abandoning yourself to keep someone else comfortable. This is the real transformation. The moment heartbreak turns you into someone emotionally wiser. But your journey isn't finished yet. There is still a final twist, one that will shift your life completely. In part 5, we step into rebirth, the moment where you rise not because the pain is gone, but because you are no longer willing to shrink for anyone. Stay with me. Your heart is not just healing. It is awakening. The voice now feels different. Still soft, but unmistakably empowered. This is where the pain begins to transform into strength, where you stop surviving and start rising. There comes a moment in every heartbreak, a quiet, almost imperceptible moment, when the suffering shifts. You're not healed yet. You're not over it. You're not suddenly strong or indifferent or free. But something changes. Your heart stops begging for what it lost and starts longing for what it deserves. This is the moment Walter Riso calls emotional reorientation. It's when your mind, your heart, and your intuition finally start aligning after being torn apart. This is where you begin to rise. Not dramatically, but steadily. Not loudly, but unmistakably. Not because the pain disappeared, but because you decided to stop disappearing. You begin to take your power back in ways you don't even notice at first. You start sleeping a little better. You cry less than the day before. You can look at your phone without hoping for their name. You can breathe without feeling like the world is collapsing. You begin laughing at small things again. A genuine laugh, the kind you thought you had lost. You start remembering that there was life before them, and there will be a beautiful life after them. And somewhere deep inside you, a new truth begins to echo. I didn't lose love. I lost someone who couldn't love me well. At first, that truth feels painful. Then it feels liberating. Then it becomes a form of empowerment you never expected to feel again. Because now, with distance, you begin to see the breakup differently. You start to realize it wasn't just an ending. It was a correction, a redirection, a moment life intervened to take you out of a place where your soul was slowly shrinking. And here comes the twist, the one your pain tried to hide. You didn't just survive them leaving. You survived everything you tolerated while they were still here. The doubts, the inconsistencies, the emotional imbalances, the silent loneliness, the fear of losing them, the fear of not being enough, the constant giving without receiving, the effort you poured into someone who was comfortable taking you for granted. You survived all of it. And that means something. It means you're stronger than you think. It means you're wiser than you were. It means you're finally ready for a love that doesn't exhaust you. A love that doesn't make you question your worth. A love that doesn't depend on your self-forgetting. And perhaps the most powerful transformation of all, you begin to see yourself again. Not the version shaped by heartbreak. Not the version shaped by fear. Not the version shaped by trying to be enough for someone who couldn't see you. You begin to see the real you, the you that existed before the relationship, the you that loved, dreamed, created, laughed, hoped, the you that deserves tenderness, presence, consistency, and emotional reciprocity. This is your evolution. You begin reclaiming your identity with every small step. You rediscover hobbies you abandoned. You reconnect with people you drifted from. You invest in your growth. You start looking in the mirror and recognizing your own reflection again. You begin imagining a future where you are happy, not because of someone else, but because of your own choices. Heartbreak humbles you, but it also rebuilds you. It breaks down the illusions that kept you stuck. It forces you to grow into someone you were always meant to become. It teaches you that your worth is not negotiable. It reminds you that love should never require self-abandonment. And now, for the first time in a long time, you can see a spark of hope. Not hope for them. Not hope for reconciliation. Not hope for the past. Hope for yourself. Hope for the life you will create. Hope for the love you will receive. Hope for the peace you will protect. Hope for the future that is beginning to form in the space where pain used to live. But your journey is not over yet. There is one final chapter, the one that will close the loop, seal the wound, and awaken your most powerful truth yet. Stay with me. Part 6 is where you discover the most important lesson of all, that losing them wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your return to yourself. The voice now feels whole, calm, steady, carrying the weight of everything you survived. This isn't the voice of heartbreak anymore. This is the voice of rebirth. You've made it to the final part, and that alone tells me something extraordinary about you. You didn't let the pain destroy you. You walked through it. You felt it. You faced it. You survived it. And now, you're standing in the quiet moment after the storm, the moment where you finally begin to understand the breakup, not through sorrow, but through clarity. Here is the truth most people don't realize until they reach this stage. You weren't meant to end up with everyone you love. Some people come to awaken you. Some come to teach you. Some come to challenge you. Some come to heal you. And some come to break you open so you can finally meet yourself. Walter Riso says, asterisk, the end of a relationship is not the end of your emotional capacity. It's the restoration of your dignity. Asterisk, and that's exactly what's happening now. Your dignity is returning. Your self-worth is returning. Your identity is returning. Your future is returning. This breakup didn't take your value away. It stripped away the one person who couldn't see it. And now you can finally see yourself without their shadow. This is the moment where regret fades, where longing calms, where hope redirects, where pain stops being your enemy and becomes your teacher. You begin to realize you didn't lose a soulmate. You lost someone who wasn't aligned with the life you're meant to live. You didn't lose the one. You lost the illusion that love meant sacrificing your needs. You didn't lose your future. You simply shed a future that wasn't worthy of you. Because here's the twist you never saw coming. The breakup didn't happen to you. It happened for you, asterisk, asterisk. It happened so you could stop settling. It happened so you could outgrow patterns. It happened so you could break generational wounds. It happened so you could understand your emotional boundaries. It happened so you could learn how deeply you deserve to be loved. It happened so you could return to the person you were always meant to be. Stronger, wiser, softer in the right places, and harder in the places where you used to bend. You see, healing isn't about forgetting them. Healing is about remembering you. And now you remember. You remember what peace feels like. You remember what laughter feels like. You remember what authentic joy feels like. You remember what having space to breathe feels like. You remember what choosing yourself feels like. This is your rebirth. Not as someone new, but as someone true. The version of you who doesn't beg for attention. The version of you who doesn't accept emotional crumbs. The version of you who doesn't shrink for love. The version of you who doesn't chase people who aren't meant to stay. The version of you who recognizes their worth effortlessly. Because the most powerful truth of all is this: love doesn't hurt. Attachment to the wrong person does. Asterisk, asterisk. The right love will not confuse you. It will not make you anxious. It will not make you question your value. It will not disappear when things get hard. It will not come with emotional conditions. It will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. The right love will feel like peace, not war. And when it arrives, because it will, you will be ready. Because heartbreak didn't close your heart. It strengthened it. It clarified it. It refined what you will accept and what you will never tolerate again. And someday, you will look back at this breakup and say the words you never thought possible. Thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for the growth. Thank you for leaving so I could finally return to myself. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of freedom, the beginning of authenticity, the beginning of a love that aligns with your worth. So take a deep breath, a real one, the kind that reaches your soul. You survived. You learned. You transformed. You rose. And now you begin again, not as someone's half, not as someone's maybe, not as someone's almost, but as someone whole. Your heart is not breaking anymore. Your heart is waking up.